The Dubai night exhaled oud and jasmine across the city's opulent veins. Within the gilded majlis, 1,000 whispers danced like desert mirages, each sound a testament to wealth, tradition, and lineage. Chandeliers dripped diamond light across rich tapestries and polished marble, illuminating faces alight with convivial smiles. Yet amidst this symphony, Zara sat, a quiet statue of exquisite despair. Her back, straight with inherited grace, pressed against cool embroidered cushions. Henna's lace on her hands rested clasped in her lap, their slight tremor a private language. Fatigue clung to her like a heavy cloak, seeping into her bones and dimming the usual brilliance of her eyes, which held the shimmer of unshed tears and reflected the distant sky outside. Each breath was a negotiation between outward composure and the tempest beneath her calm. She felt the gaze of others like pressure, a reminder of the role she was to play, a jewel in a crafted setting, while she longed for raw earth beneath her feet, for the rhythm of a life unruled by duty. The air, thick with cardamom coffee and costly perfumes, amplified her isolation. Inside, unresolved grief and budding fear formed a quiet tapestry against the vibrant hubbub. Conversations about alliances and futures swirled like an unreadable script. She felt a chasm between the shimmering facade of her life and a yearning for another truth. She dreamed of windswept freedom and choices unburdened by family legacy, dreams as elusive as stars veiled by the city's glow. A pang of vulnerability tightened her chest, a silent plea for understanding in a world demanding compliance. She watched light dance on polished floors, each reflection fleeting like her sense of self. The weight of her circumstances pressed with a suffocating force. Every gilded arch and mosaic stood as a sentinel to a predetermined path, a beautiful cage. She longed for a genuine touch, a voice to pierce the polite veneer, someone to truly see the woman beneath expectation. Her gaze traced the carpet's patterns, a labyrinth mirroring her thoughts. The clink of porcelain and rustle of fine garments reminded her of the life unfolding around her, one she inhabited yet felt apart from. She closed her eyes for a moment, sending a silent prayer into the ornate room, wishing for escape, for respite from the relentless performance. She felt exposed, a question mark amid confident assertions, her spirit aching for connection. A light touch on her shoulder, like a butterfly's wing, broke her contemplation. A warm voice, laced with concern, cut through the evening's hum. It was Samira, her cousin, eyes reflecting a kindness Zara rarely found here. Samira's presence was an unexpected anchor, a fresh breath in a room that felt too closed. "My dearest Zara, why are you sitting here so completely by yourself, my sweet?" The gentle inquiry, a momentary reprieve within the majlis's suffocating splendor, offered Zara a fragile anchor amidst the swirling currents of her disquiet. Yet, far from the gilded cages of power and expectation where even concern felt like a carefully rehearsed performance, another reality silently unfolded in the city's beating heart. In an older, less polished quarter, amidst the aromatic swirl of spices from a traditional bakery and the vibrant symphony of street life, Rashid, a titan of technology, moved with a calculated anonymity. His opulent world, a tapestry woven with ephemeral desires and hollow triumphs, had long ceased to offer solace, leaving him a connoisseur of superficiality, jaded and unfulfilled by its endless glittering demands. Dressed in unadorned, rough fabrics, a deliberate renunciation of his immense fortune, he observed Layla, her everyday strength a stark, compelling contrast to the fabricated personas he encountered daily. A quiet magnetism drew him to her unpretentious presence, a raw authenticity that resonated with the yearning deep within his soul for a connection unmarred by wealth or status. He sought not the reflection of his empire in another's eyes, but a genuine gaze that saw beyond the billionaire, into the man beneath the carefully constructed layers of his public persona and the heavy mantle of his legacy. Her quiet resilience, evident in her every movement and the subtle lines etched around her eyes, spoke of a life forged in honest struggle, a stark beauty he found infinitely more captivating than the polished facades of his own sphere. The bustling street, alive with unscripted moments and unfiltered emotions, became his temporary sanctuary, a profound departure from the sterile perfection of his usual domain. Here, life unfolded without artifice, mirroring the very truth he desperately craved from his isolated existence. He watched, an unseen presence, his gaze lingering on the effortless grace with which she navigated her modest world, each unconscious gesture a testament to her inherent fortitude and inner calm. The scent of freshly baked bread, warm and inviting, mingled with the dusty air, a simple, earthy aroma that felt more real, more grounding than the costly perfumes that saturated his own existence in the rarefied air of his penthouse. He felt an undeniable pull, a silent acknowledgement of a strength in her that transcended the material, a steadfastness that promised a refuge from the wearying demands of his own opulent, yet ultimately empty life. This unbidden attraction, a fragile seed in the parched landscape of his isolation, stirred a nascent hope, a dangerous whisper of a life less solitary, less defined by the glittering cage he inhabited. He imagined a world where his worth was measured not by the cold calculus of finance, but by the warmth of a genuine smile, the shared burden of an honest conversation, the quiet contentment of a life truly lived, a life far removed from the echoing solitude of his vast estate. The vibrant tapestry of the street, the unvarnished humanity unfolding before him, felt like a balm to his jaded spirit, igniting a spark of possibility he had long believed extinguished by the relentless pursuit of more. He would remain, for now, a silent observer, allowing the simple truths of this humble district to slowly, imperceptibly, begin to unravel the intricate knots of his own disillusioned heart, drawn by the quiet, unwavering beacon of her strength, a magnetic force pulling him towards an uncertain, yet profoundly promising horizon. He pondered the sheer audacity of genuine emotion, so rarely encountered in his gilded circles, recognizing in her a steadfastness he himself lacked. The world here, though outwardly common, felt rich with an unseen texture, an authenticity he longed to touch, to belong to, if only he could shed the weight of his own artifice. A profound yearning for such simplicity became a quiet, insistent ache. The city's persistent hum usually faded into a distant backdrop for Layla. But this evening, each faint whir and distant call seemed to accentuate the silence around a solitary figure. The day's light, now softening into the burnt oranges and purples of dusk, cast long shadows that deepened the anonymity of the man huddled near the bakery, his form indistinct against the aged stone. He was just another lost soul in the urban sprawl, another face in the relentless current of the day, yet something in his slumped posture pricked at Layla's deeply ingrained sense of human connection. Her own lunch, a simple sandwich carefully wrapped, felt substantial in her hand, a small comfort against the gnawing weariness that often claimed her by evening. A quiet empathy, a force stronger than her own exhaustion, or the persistent worry over meager finances, propelled her forward. She pictured the warmth of Noor's innocent smile, the simple joy a small offering could bring, and the thought solidified her resolve. Without conscious thought, driven by an almost primal need to alleviate another's suffering, she extended the sandwich. It was a gesture born not of overflowing generosity, but of a profound, instinctive kindness that transcended her own scarcity. The act itself was a tiny ripple in the vast, indifferent ocean of the city, yet it carried the weight of her entire spirit, a silent offering of solace. For Rashid, cloaked in the rough anonymity he had cultivated, that simple offering was a flicker of unexpected warmth, a crack in the carefully constructed facade of his self-imposed destitution. It was a silent acknowledgement of his presence, a testament to a pure-hearted compassion that had nothing to gain, and in that fleeting moment, something within his guarded heart began to soften, imperceptibly. A profound sense of betrayal washed over Layla, leaving her reeling. Her trust, already a fragile thing, now lay utterly shattered, scattered like glass upon the cold, hard floor of reality. The gentle intimacy that had blossomed between them, a delicate desert rose, now felt contaminated by the pervasive scent of deceit. Inside her, a tempest of anger, hurt, and bewildering confusion raged, each emotion a fierce, relentless gust. The glittering golden skyline, once a distant promise of a better life, now loomed like a cruel, mocking illusion, its artificial brilliance reflecting only the desolation in her heart. She wrapped her luxury jilbab tighter around herself, a futile attempt to shield against the chilling realization that everything she thought she knew was a lie. The worn fabric, usually a comfort, now felt heavy, burdened by the weight of his deception. Each memory of Eli was now tainted, a bittersweet echo of a connection that had never truly existed. A silent scream threatened to escape, but she choked it back, a prisoner of her own shattered emotions. The world spun, a dizzying carousel of opulent lies, leaving her adrift and alone. She longed for the simple, unvarnished truth, for a moment of clarity in the suffocating fog of his betrayal. The ache in her chest intensified, a physical manifestation of her broken trust, as if her heart itself had splintered. She gazed at her reflection in a polished surface, seeing not herself, but a stranger, her eyes haunted by the ghost of a love that was never real. Rashid, now Eli, began to steadily weave himself into the rhythm of Layla and Noor's humble existence. He brought an unexpected competence to their small, cluttered apartment, mending a faulty lock on the cupboard, stabilizing a wobbly kitchen chair, and coaxing reluctant electricity back into a flickering lamp. These quiet acts of practical assistance, offered without fanfare, spoke volumes, often punctuated by shared laughter over their simple evening meals. Each repair, each moment of easy camaraderie, subtly fortified the surprising bond that was blossoming between them, a connection as unadorned and genuine as the life they shared. He found a quiet satisfaction in the tangible results of his hands, a stark contrast to the abstract complexities of his empire. The worn fabric of their sofa, the chipped edges of their plates, held more truth than all the polished surfaces of his hidden world. Noor's uninhibited joy became a melody in the small space, a constant reminder of the purity he desperately craved. Layla, though still guarded, allowed herself small, unguarded smiles, each one a precious affirmation. He observed the subtle shifts in their daily routines, learning the nuances of their quiet resilience. The smell of cardamom from Layla's tea, the faint scent of old books from Noor's corner, became anchors in his new, simplified reality. He felt a profound sense of belonging taking root, a feeling utterly foreign to the expansive loneliness of his other life. The world outside their tiny windows, with its distant hum of traffic, seemed to recede, replaced by the intimate universe they were building together. He moved through their days with a quiet purpose, his presence a steadying force. Layla's initial wariness softened into a comfortable acceptance, and Noor's affection for Uncle Eli grew with an innocent, unwavering trust. He began to anticipate their needs, finding small ways to lighten Layla's load, whether by carrying groceries or patiently helping Noor with her drawings. The simplicity of their life, once a stark reminder of their disparity, now felt like a refuge, a sacred space where the superficialities of his true identity held no sway. The gentle rhythm of their days became his new compass, guiding him toward an honesty he hadn't realized he so desperately needed. The intricate designs of the majlis faded from Zara's awareness, replaced by the intimacy of Layla's world, where every shadow and sunbeam felt known. The raw scent of cumin and simmering stew filled the air, a humble antidote to the majlis's cloying perfumes. Layla's heart, once a guarded chamber, thawed whenever Eli occupied that small space. His unadorned presence cast a warmth that seeped into the worn fabric of her life, touching corners she had thought impervious. The apartment's modest steps, where Noor often played, became a threshold of shared moments, each ascent etching new memories on the stone. Here, amid the plain truth of everyday life, a different architecture was being built, not of gold and marble, but of human connection. Noor's small bedroom, usually a sanctuary of childish dreams, became the backdrop to late conversations. The muted glow of a bedside lamp revealed faces open with a vulnerability Layla had long guarded. She found herself recounting fragments of a past she rarely spoke of, betrayals softened by Eli's attentive silence and steady gaze. His quiet strength soothed lingering scars. He listened, truly listened, with an empathy she hadn't felt in years. The scarred kitchen table witnessed the slow unfolding of their bond. Over cups of strong, sweet tea and simple meals, each glance became a silent conversation, each story a new thread drawing them closer. Despite her caution, Layla felt an undeniable pull toward him, a slow, insistent magnetism. She watched him with Noor. His patience and genuine affection painted a picture unlike the deceptive figures of her past. He offered no grand promises, only consistency, a steady presence more precious than any jewel. They spoke of small dreams and future possibilities, finding comfort in being present. The world outside, with its judgments, receded, leaving the rhythm of their shared breaths and the soft cadences of their voices. This connection was delicate, a desert bloom daring to open in unexpected soil. Layla navigated unfamiliar emotions, each new feeling a step away from solitude. The warmth he offered countered the chill of her past, imperceptibly melting the ice around her heart. The simple brush of his hand over a shared task, a reassuring gesture to Noor, sent a tremor through her. Not fear, but long-forgotten tenderness. Days flowed into weeks, intimacy deepening their understanding. Layla shed layers of her protective shell, revealing the resilient, hopeful woman she rediscovered in Eli's eyes. His low, resonant laughter filled the apartment with an unfamiliar joy, chasing shadows of loneliness. He spoke of his past with quiet honesty that mirrored her vulnerability, building a bridge of shared humanity. She began to anticipate his visits, a hopeful flutter that defied cynicism. The scent of fresh bread and Noor's bedtime stories intertwined with the subtle trace of his presence, creating a comforting tapestry. Ghosts of past betrayals still whispered doubts, but Eli's steadiness slowly eroded the walls she had built. Their silences became as eloquent as their words, testament to a growing understanding. Layla's practical dreams softened with new hues, brushstrokes of hope and companionship. The warmth he offered was a steady flame against her fears. She recognized, with thrilling unease, that she was allowing herself to feel, to hope, to lean into a future that, with him, seemed less daunting. This gentle, tenacious connection was reshaping her life, drawing her toward a horizon she had long believed unattainable, a future where comfort, affection, and shared dreams were tangible. She felt a quiet yearning to surrender to that truth, acknowledging that some risks were worth taking for a chance at true belonging. The Majlis's polished surfaces reflected chandeliers and the nascent fire in Zahra's eyes, proof of resolve. Her yearning for freedom had not vanished. It had hardened into determination to carve it from within. Jewels that once felt like chains now weighed with purpose, each facet a tool of authority. Strategic clarity lit her thoughts. Every detail fit a grand design she was assembling. The mingled scents of spices and strong coffee sharpened her focus, affirming the shift from victim to wielder of influence. She sensed undercurrents of apprehension among those clinging to the status quo, currents she intended to navigate and redirect. Possibility crackled in the air, no longer oppressive expectation, but potential. Though the path remained veiled with threats and hidden motives, confidence had taken root, banishing echoes of fear. Hushed whispers that once unsettled her became data, threads in the narrative she was weaving. She straightened, not in forced composure but with innate authority, a silent declaration of presence. Oil lamps cast long, dancing shadows hinting at revelations yet to unfold, outlining the sharp contours of her mind. She had ceased waiting for an external shield and become one, a fortress of intellect, will, and an increasingly formidable spirit. The distant city sounds, once mournful, now hummed with her awakening. She prepared to dismantle the facade of her preordained life, piece by deliberate piece, exposing truths beneath the glitter and forging her own destiny. Her gown, once confinement, now felt like a strategic second skin, inner pleas for escape transmuted into calculated plans for quiet mastery. Every glance, every word, every subtle movement in the room became analysis, clues to a larger game. She was no longer just Zahra, the dutiful daughter, but the emerging architect of her fate, a resolute weaver of freedom. The dignitary's arrival would be the stage where she made herself known, subtle at first, decisive in execution, irrevocable in impact. Her true journey had begun, not in desperate flight but in deliberate steps. A new storm gathered, not of sand or politics, but of her making, poised to sweep the gilded halls and alter the landscape. This storm was not hers alone. It brewed in Layla's humble corner of the city, a quieter but potent force. Layla's days moved to the rhythm of devotion to Noor, each moment proof of a life built on hard work and love. Yet the world intruded. A neighbor, Fatima, perhaps well-meaning but loose-lipped, began sowing seeds of doubt. Whispers, light as desert dust but persistent, linked Layla to a drifter, attaching suspicion and disdain. Societal scrutiny tightened like a net, sharpening Layla's fears for Noor's future and reopening old anxieties she had fought to bury. It forced her to face ingrained biases and lingering mistrust from past heartbreaks. Fatima's hushed tones, like dry leaves over cracked earth, coiled around Layla's fragile peace, pressing against the nascent hope she had nurtured. Each casual question about Eli's background, each knowing glance among neighbors, felt like a siege on her guarded heart. The tendrils of judgment reached into her modest life, threatening the fragile bloom she had tended with tentative care. The weight of communal expectation magnified every interaction. Layla replayed conversations, dissected gestures, searching for signs Eli might not be who he seemed, a cruel irony against her longing for honest connection. The city's vibrant tapestry, once comforting, now mirrored the weave of suspicion and desire inside her. Protecting Noor remained her fierce priority, clashing with gentle stirrings of affection. Past betrayals made her recoil from unfamiliar warmth. Subtle shifts in Fatima's demeanor signaled a world poised to judge deviation from its norms. Layla longed for a shield but knew true strength lay in confronting whispers and trusting her discernment, however painful. The path ahead felt shadowed and treacherous, each step an act of faith in herself and the unseen. She drew a fortifying breath. The scent of cardamom from a nearby cafe offered fleeting solace. Resolute, she vowed to heed the quiet, unyielding truth within her soul, hoping it would guide her through the gathering storm. A sense of unease settled deeper into Layla's spirit, a quiet disquiet that went beyond Fatima's gossiping tones. The whispers about a drifter served only to sharpen the edges of her inherent wariness, igniting old fears. Her past, etched with the bitter sting of betrayals, made her recoil from any man, especially one who harbored secrets. Yet the undeniable pull toward Eli grew stronger with each passing day. She found herself captivated by his innate kindness, a gentle patience that smoothed the rough edges of her own struggle, and the effortless way he connected with Noor, filling their small apartment with a lightness she hadn't known in years. This burgeoning warmth starkly contrasted with her own deeply ingrained perceptions of societal worth, a rigid framework that had always judged others by their possessions and status. She wrestled with the paradox of her feelings, battling the ingrained skepticism that told her to guard her heart against the unknown, even as his presence offered a solace she desperately craved. The vibrant city outside her window, with its glittering towers and endless ambition, seemed to mock the quiet, unassuming grace she found in Eli's company, highlighting the chasm between her burdened existence and the perceived ease of his. Each shared moment, a simple smile or a hand offered in help, chipped away at the formidable walls she had painstakingly built around her emotions, leaving her vulnerable and undeniably drawn to the man who carried his own enigmatic shadows. The path ahead felt shrouded in a delicate mist, a landscape where trust was a fragile, elusive bloom, and every step required an act of faith against the ingrained lessons of her past. She drew a slow, fortifying breath, the scent of cardamom from a nearby cafe offering only a fleeting comfort against the storm brewing within her own heart. She longed for a clarity that felt perpetually out of reach, a definitive answer to the questions that swirled, unbidden, in the quiet corners of her mind. Yet, beneath the turmoil, a fragile hope persisted, a quiet defiance against the cynicism that threatened to consume her. She found herself, more and more, searching his eyes for reassurance, for a truth that transcended the doubts whispered by others and the scars left by a painful history. The relentless grind of Layla's existence, a constant battle against the tide of mounting obligations, reached a strange, abrupt cessation. One unassuming afternoon, a terse, official-looking document arrived, its contents chillingly clear. Her overwhelming debts, the very shackles that bound her spirit, had been mysteriously entirely cleared. A wave of profound, disbelieving relief washed over her, so potent it stole her breath and threatened to buckle her knees. The suffocating weight, a burden she had carried for years, simply vanished, leaving an astonishing lightness in its wake. Tears pricked her eyes, not of sorrow, but of an overwhelming, unburdened gratitude she hadn't realized she was capable of feeling. The air in her modest apartment, usually thick with the silent hum of anxiety, now felt impossibly lighter, infused with a nascent sense of freedom. Yet, amidst this profound liberation, A gentle, persistent pang of curiosity took root. Who was this unseen benefactor, this benevolent hand that had reached into her deepest despair and quietly erased it? The anonymous act spoke volumes, painting a portrait of a giver motivated by genuine care rather than any desire for ostentatious display or public acclaim. It was an intervention so subtle, so unassuming, that it reinforced a profound character, one that sought only the solace of another's unburdened breath, a quiet strength that transcended the glitter of outward show. Layla's fingers, trembling slightly, traced the impersonal lines of the statement, searching for a name, a hint, any tangible clue to the source of this inexplicable kindness. The mystery deepened the unexpected gift, transforming simple relief into a thoughtful wonder. This quiet, radical shift in her circumstances compelled her to reevaluate the very nature of generosity and the invisible threads of compassion that wove through the often harsh tapestry of life. She looked out at the distant, glittering Doha skyline, a place she often viewed with weary indifference, now wondering if such profound, selfless acts could truly emanate from its gleaming, enigmatic heights, or if the source was closer, rooted in a humbler, more genuine truth she was only just beginning to perceive. The very notion that someone, unknown and without expectation, could lift such an immense burden from her shoulders was a quiet revelation, a testament to a different kind of power, one found in profound, unheralded empathy. Her heart, which had guarded itself fiercely against disappointment, now found itself subtly open to the possibility of a world where kindness existed for its own sake. The inexplicable grace, this quiet dismantling of her struggles, began to subtly reshape her deepest biases, dissolving the hardened edges of past betrayals with a warm, pervasive sense of wonder. The silent act of absolution, delivered without a trace, resonated deeply within her, a powerful echo of genuine worth found not in wealth, but in the profound, quiet decency of a hidden heart. This selfless generosity, delivered in utter secrecy, offered a stark, beautiful contrast to the transactional nature of the world, deepening her appreciation for the unseen forces of goodness. She thought of Eli, his unwavering kindness, the unassuming way he always offered help, and a faint, unbidden question formed in her mind, a soft whisper against the newfound quiet of her worries. The world, once a place of predictable struggle, now held a potent, beautiful secret, one that invited her to look beyond the surface of things, to question the masks people wore, and to trust in the quiet, profound power of an unrevealed truth, a truth that felt as vital and real as the desert air. A quiet relief settled over Layla as the weight of her cleared debts lifted, a baffling kindness she couldn't quite attribute. Yet a deeper current had begun to flow in her life, subtly but persistently drawing her closer to Eli. Their connection transcended the mundane rhythms of her days, finding its purest expression in the simplest, unburdened moments. They would sit together in the fading light, the vibrant hues of the golden skyline at sunset, painting the modest window of her apartment, a shared canvas for their quiet contemplation. Laughter, light and unforced, often punctuated the stillness, born from everyday observations and the shared delight in Noor's innocent antics. These were not grand gestures, but the delicate, intricate threads of life woven together, a silent understanding in a glance, the comforting brush of a hand, the effortless synchronicity of two souls finding their rhythm. A profound intimacy blossomed between them, unspoken yet palpable, a language understood in the spaces between words. It was a connection that reached beyond their disparate circumstances, hinting at a future Layla hadn't dared to imagine, a reality far richer than her current one. For Eli and for Layla, this bond was a rare treasure, hidden from the world's harsh glare, yet more precious than any overt display of wealth. It felt like a luminous pearl nestled on soft velvet, its quiet gleam promising untold depth and enduring value. The city's distant hum faded, replaced by the symphony of their shared breaths, a melody of growing affection and blossoming hope. Each shared evening was a testament to the fact that true riches lay not in what one possessed, but in the profound, honest connection of two hearts. The comfortable silence that often settled between Layla and Eli, a testament to their burgeoning ease, abruptly fractured one evening. Rashid, on the cusp of confessing the truth of his identity, felt the words catch in his throat, a sudden, suffocating knot of apprehension. The warmth of Layla's gaze, usually a balm, now felt like a spotlight, intensifying the weight of his meticulously constructed facade. He saw the flickering lamplight dance in her eyes, reflecting a quiet trust that he knew, deep down, he had not yet earned. The thought of shattering that nascent faith, of exposing the chasm between the humble Eli and the billionaire Rashid, became an unbearable burden. A tremor ran through him, imperceptible to Layla, but a seismic shift within his own guarded heart. He yearned to unburden himself, to lay bare the truth and risk the fallout, but the fear of rejection, of seeing the gentle warmth in her eyes replaced by disillusionment, held him captive. The memory of past encounters, where his wealth had preceded and poisoned genuine connection, rose like a suffocating tide, whispering warnings of inevitable heartbreak. He pulled back, a subtle withdrawal that was more emotional than physical, retreating behind the carefully woven veil of deception he had maintained for so long. Layla, ever perceptive, sensed the shift in his demeanor, a momentary flicker of struggle in his usually steady presence. Her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly as she watched him, a quiet question forming in her mind. She couldn't decipher the depth of his internal battle, the magnitude of the secret he wrestled with, but a subtle tension now hung in the air, a whisper of something unresolved. The unspoken hung between them, a fragile thread stretched taut, vibrating with the sudden quiet fear that had seized Rashid. The warmth of the room, once comforting, now felt tinged with an unfamiliar chill, an echo of the unspoken anxieties that now clouded their shared space. She observed the faint clench of his jaw, the way his gaze momentarily skirted hers, then settled on a distant point beyond the window, as if seeking an escape. The gentle rhythm of their evening, often punctuated by easy conversation or Noor's innocent chatter, was replaced by a heavy silence, thick with unarticulated emotions. Layla's heart, which had begun to soften towards this kind stranger, now felt a prickle of unease, a familiar ache of uncertainty that she had hoped she had left in her past. The shadows cast by the modest lamps seemed to lengthen, deepening the mystery that had always surrounded Eli, a mystery she had, until this moment, been willing to overlook. The nascent trust she had slowly cultivated, as precious as a pearl on velvet, felt suddenly precarious, delicately balanced on the edge of an unspoken truth. She watched him, her own vulnerabilities stirred, wondering what unseen forces could wield such power over a man who had shown her so much unassuming kindness. The golden skyline, usually a beacon of distant dreams, now seemed to shimmer with an enigmatic promise, or perhaps a warning. The promise of a storm, not of sand but political upheaval, gathered on the horizon, mirrored in the watchful eyes around Layla. Her inner landscape, once arid, now pulsed with purpose. The Majlis, its web of power and pretense, no longer held her captive, but served as ground for strategy. She absorbed every glance, every hushed exchange, assembling a mosaic. The opulent air, once suffocating, invigorated her, a medium through which influence would expand. The weight of her heritage, once an anchor, became a rudder through courtly intrigue. Ancestral whispers turned to counsel she wielded, with quiet precision. Tapestries that had felt like confinement revealed maps of advantage. Yearning hardened into a resolute vision, a destiny she would craft, thread by painful thread. The Majlis's clamor receded beneath her inner compass. The desert's silence lived within her, as a vibrant expanse where winds of change gathered to sweep away the last vestiges of her former self. The tremor that had betrayed vulnerability now pulsed with nascent power, the awakening of a spirit long constrained. Reflections that had shown a stranger now returned defiant resolve, a woman poised to transcend opulence and claim herself. The rich aromas, once cloying, became backdrop to a sharpening focus. Silent screams transmuted into simmering determination, a rebellion whispered into her marrow. Carefree laughter, once painful, became strategic cover beneath which plans would unfurl. The yearning for kinship remained, but was tempered by the truth that it must grow from her own empowered core. The embroidery of her gown, once a silken snare, turned into a chosen uniform, worn until the moment to shed it and reveal the architect beneath. Opening her eyes, The Majlis's engineered brilliance shimmered above an internal luminescence burning steady. The air of unspoken expectation met her with quiet authority, each breath a deliberate step toward independence. Her supplication for shapeable destiny hardened into affirmation. She would not seek a path but carve one, forging a legacy uniquely hers. Her gaze searched the room's edges not for escape, but for leverage, fissures in the facade where influence might take root. A collective intake of breath announced the dignitary's arrival, promising not an end, but a new beginning for her calculated rise. The room crackled with expectant energy. She allowed a faint, almost imperceptible smile, a silent acknowledgement that the game had begun. He entered cloaked in authority, and the room recalibrated. Quickened whispers, straightened spines, deferential pauses. Layla noted microsignals, the widening of an elder's eyes, a jaw's near clench, tells in a silent poker game. The Majlis's polite drone gave way to a guarded murmur. Outwardly serene, she remained a still point, while her strategy engine whirred, mapping alliances and vulnerabilities. The clink of a silver platter told the start of a high-stakes dance she meant to choreograph from the shadows. She tracked every gesture, the casual placement of a hand, the angle of a nod, the intensity of his gaze, calculated assertions of dominance. Dubai's circle adjusted to his gravity. Her heritage now helped decode the unspoken language of power. The air, heavy no longer, felt charged with possibility, volatile ground for subtle leverage. She marked players by their reactions to one another as much as to him. Fleeting glances, prolonged handshakes, a nervous keffiyeh adjustment. The tapestry's patterns became routes she began to trace. The symphony of the Majlis receded to a muted hum under the clarity of her inner compass. Back in his glass sky lounge, surrounded by chandeliers and gold-plated tableware, Rashid felt a loneliness the lavish comforts could not assuage. The vastness of the lounge, once achievement, now felt like a cage. Every gleaming surface reflected emptiness. He paced. The silence amplified the chasm between him and the genuine connection he'd known with Layla and Noor. The sunset skyline looked cold and indifferent through panoramic glass. He yearned for Layla's humble apartment, Noor's laughter, a life measured by kindness, not empire. A heavy, regretful clarity settled. He had sacrificed authenticity for a secret. The marble's patterns that once impressed now seemed a labyrinth of mistakes. He lifted a solid gold pen, its cold weight a reminder of superficiality, and Layla's trembling voice replayed as accusation. The scent of exotic spices, once comfort, now felt cloying. He closed his eyes, longing for desert winds to sweep away his artifice, and opened them to a nascent resolve, to reclaim what he had lost, regardless of price. That resolve spread. The carpet became a launchpad, the city a puzzle to be solved with the same strategic acumen he used in business. The pen became a tool, the marble a map toward redemption. The memory of Layla's strength, Noor's laughter, became guiding lights. He no longer saw isolation, but a network to re-engage with authenticity. Wealth transformed into a means for genuine impact. He straightened, not with magnate arrogance, but the quiet dignity of a pilgrim, ready to dismantle his gilded cage with meticulous steps. Apology, once abstract, became urgent and necessary. He understood the courage it demanded and felt invigorated rather than deterred. The city lights offered quiet encouragement. He embraced a new power, humility and intent. The empty vase awaited desert roses. He would rebuild trust through humble, consistent acts, not grand gestures. The hum of the city intensified as Rashid prepared to move within his world as a man reborn. A searing jolt ripped through Layla as she watched the evening news. A glimpse of Rashid, not as Eli, but in a luxurious armored vehicle, his name flashing as a tech mogul. The humble man who had shared her meals, who had laughed with Noor, collided with the titan on screen. The contrast slammed into her, leaving her breathless. Every shared moment now felt tainted, a cruel performance. She replayed conversations for clues and found only the ghost of warmth that now felt like calculated deceit. The Majlis, once a stage for awakening, became a gilded cage again. Her heart, which had begun to open, slammed shut, guarding itself against the sting of profound betrayal. The sudden, visceral shock of the glossy magazine image had left Layla breathless, a cruel mockery of the quiet trust she had cultivated. A bitter taste filled her mouth. sharper than any grief, as the memory of Eli's gentle touch now felt like a viper's coil. The carefully woven fabric of their shared intimacy unraveled in an instant, exposing the gaping wound of deceit. Her hands, calloused from honest labor, clenched into fists, a tempest of conflicting emotions raging within her: fury, profound sorrow, and a bewildering sense of disorientation. The city's radiant golden skyline, usually a beacon of distant aspiration, now seemed to leer, its glittering facets a chilling reflection of Rashid's polished lies. Each skyscraper stood as a monument to his hidden world, a stark reminder of the chasm between their lives. A cold certainty settled in her heart. She had been a pawn in a billionaire's cruel game. The aroma of cardamom and spices from a nearby cafe, typically a comfort, now merely accentuated the acrid taste of betrayal. She felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the very air around her was saturated with his falsehoods, tainting every memory. Her mind raced, replaying conversations, searching for subtle cues she had missed, for any flicker of the deception that had been so expertly concealed. The innocence of Noor's affection for Uncle Eli twisted in her gut, a painful reminder of how deeply the deception had penetrated their lives. She felt a fierce, protective instinct rise, a primal urge to shield her daughter from the ripple effects of this profound treachery. The very foundations of her world seemed to tilt, threatening to crumble under the crushing weight of a truth she had desperately tried to deny. An unbidden tear stung her eye, a single defiant drop against the rising storm. Her heart, once hopeful, now felt like a shattered glass dome, its fragile beauty irrevocably broken, leaving only jagged edges of pain. Layla's voice, a tight tremor woven with fury and heartache, cut through the quiet hum of Rashid's opulent world. The very air in the Glass Sky Lounge seemed to thicken with the weight of her betrayal, each unspoken accusation a visible current between them. Her elegant luxury jilbab, a practical garment that once symbolized her quiet dignity, now felt like a stark, almost defiant contrast to the shimmering wealth that surrounded him, a wealth she now associated with his elaborate deception. She questioned the foundation of every shared glance, every murmured confidence, every fleeting moment of tenderness that had, in her mind, been built on a lie. The panoramic windows, usually showcasing the city's indifferent splendor, now framed her raw pain, reflecting a fractured image of two worlds colliding. His perfectly tailored thobe, once a mark of his quiet sophistication, now felt like a costume, a symbol of the persona he had meticulously constructed. The cold sheen of the crystal chandelier above, the gleam of 24K gold-plated tableware, all the markers of his true identity, pressed in on her, amplifying her sense of violated trust. The silence that followed her choked words was not empty, but thick with the unspoken accusations that hung heavy, a palpable barrier. Each beat of her heart echoed the shattering of her carefully guarded hope, a sound amplified by the luxurious stillness of the room. She felt adrift, caught between the warmth of the man she thought she knew and the cold reality of the powerful figure before her, her footing uncertain on the polished marble floor. The sweet, cloying scent of Arabian oud, meant to soothe, now felt suffocating, trapping her in this moment of intense emotional trigger. Her gaze, fierce and wounded, dared him to deny the chasm he had created, a silent plea for an explanation that might somehow bridge the unbearable distance between them. Layla's final, heartbroken words echoed through the modest apartment, each syllable a shard of glass piercing Rashid's already fractured composure. He stood rooted for a moment, the weight of her pain, far heavier than any of his vast riches, pressing down on him. The air, once filled with the faint scent of cardamom from their shared meals, now felt thin, devoid of the warmth that had so recently blossomed. Her dismissal, sharp and resolute, left a hollow ache, a profound sense of loss that overshadowed the opulent world awaiting him. He saw the shimmering Doha skyline through her window, no longer a distant aspiration, but a mocking reflection of the chasm that had opened between them. With a heavy heart, Rashid turned and walked out, each step away from her apartment, an agonizing severance from the fragile reality they had built. The bustling street, usually a symphony of life, felt muted, its vibrant colors leached away by his despair. He carried the quiet devastation of leaving behind the genuine connection he had so desperately sought. the raw honesty he had found in their humble abode, the memory of Noor's innocent laughter, Layla's fierce protection, now felt like precious jewels he had carelessly dropped, shattering upon the unforgiving pavement of his own deceit. The city's grandeur, the gleaming towers and luxurious storefronts, offered no solace, only a stark reminder of the superficiality he yearned to escape. He knew he had inflicted a wound, not just on Layla's trust, but on the very essence of the pure affection they had shared. His carefully constructed life, once a source of pride, now felt like an elaborate prison, its gilded bars holding him captive to a loneliness more profound than any solitude he had known. The metallic tang of regret mingled with the faint exhaust fumes of passing cars, a bitter reminder of the choices that had led him to this desolate moment. He longed for a chance to rewind time, to undo the layers of pretense, to stand before her as just a man, stripped of everything but his genuine heart. But the door had closed, firmly, irrevocably, leaving him to wander back into a world that, despite its dazzling illusions, felt utterly bankrupt without her. Layla, alone in her apartment, was left to grapple with the debris of her shattered emotions, the echoes of his explanation fading into the harsh reality of yet another abandonment, another trust, broken. The silent tears that tracked paths down her cheeks were not just for Rashid, but for the fragile hope she had dared to nurture, now withered and lost, like a desert bloom forgotten in the sun. Back in his opulent world, surrounded by crystal chandeliers and gold tableware, Rashid felt a loneliness no luxury could touch. His glass sky lounge, once a triumph, had become a cage. Each gleaming surface reflected only his hollowness. He paced, footsteps muted by plush carpets, the silence widening the gap between his life and the brief, real connection he'd found with Layla and Noor. The golden skyline looked cold and indifferent through panoramic windows, a mirror of his inner turmoil. He longed for Layla's humble apartment, for Noor's unguarded laughter, for a life measured by small kindnesses rather than an empire, the life he had known as Eli. A heavy sigh carried the weight of regret. The marble floor's patterns, once admired, now twisted into a labyrinth of mistakes. He lifted a solid gold pen, its cold weight a reminder of the superficiality he loathed. Layla's trembling voice and hurt eyes replayed, a persistent accusation. He understood, hard and clear, that he'd traded authenticity for a hollow secret. The scent of exotic spices, once comforting, now felt suffocating. He closed his eyes, wishing the desert's cleansing winds could strip away his facade. When he opened them, city lights blinked like unfeeling stars. Without Layla and Noor, his wealth meant nothing. He felt adrift, a ship without compass. An empty, handcrafted marble vase caught his gaze, a perfect metaphor for a hollow life, yearning for the desert roses of Layla's world. From that emptiness, a quiet resolve stirred, a desperate plan to reclaim what he'd lost, cost be damned. That resolve sent tendrils through his gilded loneliness. The desire to recover Layla and Noor hardened into imperative. He stopped pacing. The carpet became a launch pad, though the course remained hidden. The windows reframed the glittering city as a puzzle to be solved with the same strategic mind he used for his empire, but now for a different prize. Each distant star hinted at a path. The gold pen shifted from symbol to tool, the marble swirls from maze to map. Layla's voice, once accusation, now fueled determination to heal the wound and prove his worth beyond currency. Authenticity, he realized, lay in courageous unveiling, not secrecy. The scent of spices recalled the vibrant life he craved. The empty vase transformed into a vessel awaiting desert roses. His heart, once adrift, felt a new current toward real connection. The lounge, still vast, became a temporary space to plan transformation. He accepted the cost of his deception, not with mere regret, but with fierce resolve to pay it. A new rhythm pulsed within him, a quiet purpose aligned with a longing for simplicity and truth. Noor's laughter and Layla's strength became his North Star. He straightened, not as magnate but pilgrim, the desert's stark truth calling him as crucible. He would dismantle his gilded cage, not with force, but with careful, deliberate steps. The path ahead was shadowed, yet a nascent light guided him. He would reclaim what was lost through the profound power of sincerity. Layla's gaze, previously fixed on the distant city lights, now softened, drawn inward by a sudden, profound realization. The hum of Dubai, usually a dull background to her worries, sharpened, no longer a cacophony but a symphony of untold stories. She had been so consumed by her own anxieties, the echoes of past heartbreaks, that she had almost missed the clearest signal of all. Noor, a beacon of pure innocence, offered a truth unburdened by societal judgment or personal bias. Her daughter's simple words, "Uncle Eli didn't care about money. He cared about us," resonated through Layla's guarded heart, unraveling the careful knots of her skepticism. It was a revelation, delivered with the guileless clarity only a child possesses, forcing Layla to confront her ingrained doubts about Rashid's true nature. The defensive walls she had meticulously built around her emotions, brick by painful brick, began to crumble, exposing the vulnerable longing beneath. She replayed moments in her mind, not through the lens of suspicion, but with a fresh understanding, seeing Rashid's actions as Eli, his genuine warmth, his patient kindness, the subtle ways he had offered support without seeking anything in return, all illuminated by Noor's insightful observation. The fear of another betrayal, a phantom limb ache from old wounds, began to recede, replaced by a nascent trust, fragile yet insistent. She felt a profound sense of shame for her misjudgment, for allowing her past to cloud her perception of a man who, in his simplest form, had shown unwavering care for her and her child. The scent of cardamom from a nearby cafe, once a fleeting comfort, now seemed to carry the fragrance of forgiveness, a silent promise of renewal. Her hand instinctively reached for Noor's, a silent apology and a renewed pledge to see the world through a lens of greater understanding. The intricate patterns on her worn prayer rug, once a familiar comfort, now seemed to twist into a tapestry of her own biases, each thread a missed opportunity for connection. She felt a stirring, a quiet courage blooming in the once barren ground of her heart, urging her to shed the heavy cloak of skepticism and embrace the possibility of genuine affection. The city's vibrant tapestry, once a dizzying blur of ambition and artifice, now appeared in sharper focus, a place where genuine connections could thrive, even amidst the glittering facades. Noor's innocent pronouncement became the pivotal turning point, dissolving the shadows of Layla's past and revealing the potential for a future unburdened by fear. It was a truth so pure, so unassailable, that it sliced through the complex layers of Layla's adult cynicism, reminding her that love, in its simplest form, required only an open heart. A deep, fortifying breath filled her lungs, not of resignation, but of acceptance, of a newfound clarity. She knew with a certainty that resonated through her very bones that the path ahead, though still uncertain, was now illuminated by the gentle, unwavering light of her daughter's wisdom. The heavy weight of her past lifted, replaced by a hopeful lightness, a quiet determination to mend the rift and embrace the genuine affection she had so nearly rejected. She looked at Noor, truly seeing her, and felt a profound, humbling gratitude. A shift, subtle as a whisper across the dunes, stirred within Layla, urging her spirit toward an unfamiliar horizon. The echoes of Noor's innocent, unwavering hope resonated deeply, intertwining with a nascent, undeniable yearning in Layla's own heart. This compelling confluence ignited a courageous resolve, not to flee the complexities of her world, but to bravely confront them. Her focus narrowed on Rashid, not for the allure of his immense influence or the glittering facade of his status, but for a singular, potent quest, the unvarnished truth that lay beneath his deception, and with it, the slender possibility of a genuine, deeply felt connection. This internal awakening felt like the first breath of a new dawn, chasing away the lingering shadows of past hurts and uncertainties that had long held her captive. She understood, with a clarity that pierced through layers of self-doubt, that true worth transcended material wealth, residing instead in the vulnerable act of seeking authenticity. A quiet strength bloomed within her, much like a desert rose unfurling its delicate petals against the harsh winds. She moved with deliberate grace, her hands reaching for her finest jilbab, its luxurious fabric now imbued with a newfound significance. This garment, once a simple covering, transformed into a personal emblem of resilience, a cloak of resolve she would wear as she stepped into a world she had previously deemed unattainable. Each intricate stitch, each rich fold, seemed to lend her a silent fortitude, preparing her for the uncharted territory ahead. The familiar scent of jasmine, clinging faintly to the material, offered a tender anchor to her humble roots, even as her spirit soared with an intrepid purpose. Her reflection in the polished surface of a small mirror revealed not just her outward appearance, but the steadfast determination shining in her eyes, a testament to the profound transformation taking place within. The world outside her modest dwelling, once perceived as a labyrinth of societal judgments and potential heartbreaks, now appeared as a landscape waiting to be navigated, a challenging but ultimately surmountable journey. She was no longer a woman merely reacting to circumstances, but an active participant, charting her own course with an unwavering inner compass. The memory of Rashid's veiled kindness, even under the guise of Eli, mingled with the recent sting of his revelation, creating a complex tapestry of emotions that fueled her resolve. She was ready to face the uncomfortable truths, to unearth the hidden layers, and to demand an honesty that transcended superficial gestures. Her heart, once guarded, now beat with a quiet courage, prepared to confront the very source of her pain in the pursuit of something real. The distant hum of the city, once a backdrop to her quiet life, now sounded like a prelude to her own decisive stride, a symphony of her burgeoning agency. She adjusted the jilbab, its weight a comforting embrace, her spirit as resilient and beautiful as the hardy desert bloom, ready for the arduous path toward revelation. Stepping through the towering gilded archway of the marble palace atrium, Layla felt the sheer scale of Rashid's world wash over her, a realm of polished stone and shimmering light utterly foreign to her own modest existence. The cool, vast space hummed with a hushed elegance, a stark contrast to the familiar clamor of her neighborhood. Her luxury jilbab, chosen as a shield and a silent declaration of her newfound resolve, felt both a defiant garment and a stark reminder of the chasm between them. Each echoing footstep on the gleaming floor was a beat of her accelerating heart, propelling her towards the man whose deception had fractured her world, yet whose genuine heart she now dared to hope lay beneath the polished facade. Rashid, a formidable figure even in the grandeur of his office, stood by a panoramic window, the city sprawling beneath him like a glittering jewel. He turned as she approached, his tailored thobe a statement of his position, yet his eyes held a vulnerability that belied the power he exuded. The air, heavy with unspoken emotions, crackled between them as their gazes locked. No polite greetings, no hesitant small talk. The moment demanded raw honesty. Layla's voice, though steady, carried the tremor of past pain and current hope as she began to articulate the profound hurt his secrecy had inflicted. She spoke not with accusation, but with a quiet, powerful recounting of her shattered trust, laying bare the fears that had rooted deep within her after years of hardship and past betrayals. Rashid listened, his head bowed slightly, the weight of her words settling upon him. When he finally spoke, his voice was not the commanding tone of a magnate, but soft, imbued with a remorse that felt profoundly authentic. He confessed his reasons for the elaborate deception, the jadedness with his own opulent world, his desperate yearning for someone to see beyond the glittering surface to the man beneath. He spoke of his fear of being loved only for his wealth, a loneliness so profound it had driven him to a masquerade. His carefully constructed walls, usually impenetrable, now crumbled, revealing a soul as complex and vulnerable as her own. Layla, her initial fury slowly softening, listened with an intensity that pulled every word into the deepest parts of her being, a nascent understanding beginning to bloom within her heart. The opulent room, once a symbol of his deceit, began to transform, revealing the subtle contours of his deeply hidden yearning for authentic connection, a desire as profound as her own search for truth. The symphony of anticipation that had swelled around Rashid now resolved into the harmonious chords of reconciliation. His steadfast pursuit of truth, woven into sincere words and humble gestures, had finally bridged the chasm he once feared impassable. Layla's heart, once a fortress against betrayal, softened, allowing the genuine warmth of his renewed intentions to permeate its walls. Their reunion, an emotional crescendo of shared vulnerability and honesty, culminated not in the opulence he was born into, but in a profound acknowledgement of mutual respect that transcended wealth. It was a victory of spirit, a testament to a love willing to confront its deepest wounds. The memory of their tear-filled embrace, a covenant forged in the crucible of truth, remained a tender anchor in Layla's soul, a stark contrast to the glittering illusions of Dubai. The quiet dignity of their journey had led them to this poignant moment, a love that dared to challenge societal expectations and pain. This arduous personal journey found public celebration at a luxury desert resort, where the Arabian sands met refined elegance. The air, crisp with desert night and subtle incense, carried whispers of admiration as guests arrived. Layla, ethereal in a haute couture abaya, moved through the throng. Its embroidery shimmered like constellations against indigo fabric, each stitch a narrative of resilience and renewed hope. Beside her, Rashid, resplendent in an embroidered bisht, stood with humility and joy. Their presence, a tableau of quiet strength and affection, drew every eye, a united front against past deceptions, a beacon for those who witnessed it. As the sun descended, painting the skyline in amber and rose, Rashid raised a crystal glass. The clink echoed through the hushed ballroom. His voice, clear and resonant, carried sincerity to every corner. "To Layla," he began, gazing at her with adoration, "my desert rose, whose strength showed me resilience and grace." "And to Noor," he added, eyes soft with paternal love as he looked at the smiling child, "my guiding star, who illuminated a path I had lost in the mirage of ambition. You both," he paused, voice thick, "are my true treasure, a wealth beyond measure, a blessing I am eternally grateful for." The room sighed not for his status, but for the raw, unburdened truth of his words. From the resort's terrace, the skyline at sunset, once a monument to solitary ambition, now glowed with new meaning. It symbolized their united love, precious and protected, like a desert rose beneath a glass dome. Every shimmering facade now underscored the deeper radiance they had found in each other. The desert, once a symbol of his solitary quest, embraced them, its vastness mirroring their expansive love. Rashid's journey had culminated in a richness far beyond empire and power. As Layla watched him, their hands intertwined, a profound peace settled in her. A single silent thought bloomed in her heart, Alhamdulillah, full of gratitude and joy. The path ahead, once shrouded in fear, now stretched before them, lit by their unwavering commitment. A future built not on shifting sands, but on enduring love. The breeze carried jasmine and the guests' murmurs into a symphony of contentment, a celebration of true love's triumph. She smiled, knowing her home was the heart of the man beside her and the joy of their daughter, a family at last whole. The journey had been long and fraught, but every step had led to this moment of grace and happiness. She squeezed Rashid's hand, a silent affirmation of their shared destiny, a beautiful bloom in the most opulent desert, a cherished reality.